Dear student, we will start with second lecture of disaster management, in which we will discuss briefly about the policy that plays a pivotal role in disaster management, disaster preparedness and disaster mitigation. And then we will discuss each type of disaster, some common disasters one by one. Now, policy development, what is very important for disaster management. And policies is strategic in nature and performs following functions: establish long-term goals, assign responsibilities for achieving goals, and establish recommended practice and determine criteria for decision making. Six sectors are required for response and recovery strategies. The form of emergency preparedness policies varies from place to place. They are communication, health, social welfare, police and security, search and rescue, and transport. We have National Disaster Management Authority that we discussed previously. Now, general measures during emergency: do not use telephone except call for help, so as to leave telephone lines free for organization to respond. Listen to the messages broadcast by radios, various medias, so as to be informed of the development. Carry out the official instructions given over the radio or by loudspeaker. Keep a family emergency kit ready. Now, home emergency kit is ready to eat and high energy foods for 3 days, bottled water, extra prescription medication, baby supplies, special needs item, lanterns, flashlight, light sticks, battery operated radios, batteries, alternate heat sources, extra warm clothing and blankets, cash, and first aid kit. Emergency kits, as you can see in the figure. Now, travel emergency kit should include flashlight, flares or reflective triangle, first aid kit, basic tools including shovel, extra clothing including hats and gloves, booster cables, sand and kitty litter, small candle in a tin can, waterproof matches, water, ice wrappers and brush, blanket, non-perishable, high-energy food. Now, personal protection in different types of emergencies. Floods. Before a flood, to prepare for a flood, you should avoid building in flood prone area unless you elevate and reinforce your home. Elevate furnace. Elevate the furnace, water heater, and electric panel if susceptible to flooding. Install check valves and sewer traps to prevent flood water from backing up into the drains of your homes. Contact community officials to find out if they are planning to construct barriers, levees, beams, flood walls to stop flood water from entering the home in your area. Seal the walls in your basement with waterproofing compounds to avoid seepage. If a flood is likely in your area, you should listen to radio, television for information. Be aware that flash flooding can occur. If there is any possibility of flash flood, move immediately to the higher ground. Do not wait for instructions to move. Be aware of streams, drainage channels, canyons, and other areas known to flood suddenly. Flash floods can occur in these areas with or without such typical warnings as rain clouds or heavy rain. If you must prepare to evacuate, you should do following: secure your home if you have any time, bring in outdoor furniture, move essential items to an upper floor, turn off utilities at the main switches or valves if instructed to do so, disconnect electrical appliances, do not touch electrical equipment if you are wet or standing in water. If you do have to leave your home, remember these evacuation tips: do not walk through moving water. If you have to walk in the water, walk where the water is not moving. Use a stick to check the firmness of ground in front of you. Do not drive into flooded areas. After a flood, the following are the guidelines for the period following a flood. Listen for news reports to learn whether the community water supply is safe to drink. Avoid flood waters. Water may be contaminated by oil, gasoline, or raw sewage. Water may be electrically charged from underground or ground power lines. Avoid moving water. Be aware of areas where floodwaters have receded. Roads may have weakened and could collapse under the weight of a vehicle. Stay away from downed power lines and report them. Return home only when authorities indicate it is safe. Stay out of any building if it is surrounded by floodwaters. Use extreme caution when entering buildings, and there may be hidden damage, particularly in foundations. Service damaged septic tanks, cesspools, pits, and leaching systems as soon as possible. Damaged sewage systems are serious health hazard. Clean, disinfect everything that got wet. Now, next disaster with us is storms, hurricanes, tornadoes. What to do beforehand: choose a shelter in advance, minimize the effect of storms, take measures against flooding, prepare a family emergency kit. During an emergency, listen to the information and advice provided by the authorities. Do not go out in car or boat once the storm has been announced. Evacuate houses if requested. Tie down any object liable to be blown away by wind. If caught outside in a storm, take refuge as quickly as possible in a shelter. In a thunderstorm, keep away from doors, windows, electrical conductors. Unplug electrical appliances, etc. Do not use electrical appliances or anyone who is outside should look for shelter in a building. Never take shelter under a tree. If in a boat, get back to the shore. Keep away from fences, electric cables. Kneel down rather than standing. After the emergency, follow the instructions given by the authorities. Stay indoors. Give alert as quick as possible. Give first aid to the injured. Make sure the water is safe to drink. Check the exterior of dwellings and call for assistance if there is risk of falling object, tiles, gutterings, etc. Earthquake. What to do beforehand: repair deep plaster cracks in ceilings and foundations. Get expert advice if there are signs of structural defects. Hang heavy items such as pictures, brace, overhead light, and fan fixtures. Repair defective electrical wirings and leaky gas connections. These are potential fire risks. Secure a water heater LPG cylinder by strapping it to the wall studs and bolting it to the floor. Store weed killers, pesticides, flammable products securely in closed cabinets with latches on bottom shelves. Identify safe places indoors and outdoors: under strong dining table bed, against an inside wall, away from where glass could shatter around windows, mirrors, pictures, or where heavy bookcases or other heavy furniture could fall over. In the open, away from the building, trees, telephones, electrical lines, flyovers, bridges. Have a disaster emergency kit ready. If windows drop to the ground, take cover by getting under a sturdy table or other piece of furniture and hold on until the shaking stops. If there isn't a table or desk near you, cover your face and head with arms and crouch in an inside corner of the building. Protect yourself by staying under the lintel of an inner door or in the corner of a room under a table or even under a bed. Stay away from glass, windows, outside doors, and walls, and anything that could fall off, such as lighting fixtures or furniture. Stay in bed if you are there when the earthquake strikes. Hold on and protect your head with a pillow unless you are under a heavy light fixture that could fall. Stay inside unless the shaking stops and it is safe to go outside. Research has shown that the most injury occur when people inside building attempt to move to a different location inside the building or try to leave. Do not use elevators. If you know that people have been buried, tell the rescue teams. Do not rush and do not worsen the situation of injured people or your own situation. Avoid places where there are loose electric wires and do not touch any metal object in contact with them. Do not drink water from open containers without having examined it and filtered it through a sieve, filter, or any ordinary clean cloth. If your home is badly damaged, you will have to leave it. Collect water containers, food, ordinary and special medicines for persons with heart complications and diabetes. Do not re-enter badly damaged building and do not go near damaged structures. If outdoors, stay there. Move away from the building, trees, street lights, and utility wires. Once in the open, stay there until the shaking stops. And the greatest danger exists directly outside the buildings, at the exits, alongside exterior walls. Most earthquake-related casualties result from collapsing walls, flying glass, etc. If in a moving vehicle, stop as quickly as safety permits and stay in the vehicle. Avoid stopping near or under buildings, trees, overpasses, and utility wires. Proceed cautiously once the earthquake has stopped. Avoid roads, bridges, and ramps that might have been damaged by earthquake. If trapped under debris, do not move about or kick up dust. Cover your mouth with a handkerchief or clothing. Tap on a pipe or a wall so rescuers can locate you. Use a whistle if one is available. Shout out only as a last resort. After an earthquake, keep calm. Switch on the radio, TV, and obey any instruction you hear on it. Keep away from beaches and low banks of rivers. Huge waves may sweep in. Expect aftershocks. Be prepared. Turn off the water, gas, electricity. Do not strike. Do not light matches or cigarette lighter. Do not turn on switches. There may be gas leaks or short circuits. Make sure that water is safe to drink and food stored at home is fit to eat. Clouds of toxic fumes. What to do beforehand. Find about evacuation plans and facilities. Familiarize with the alarm signals used in emergencies. Equip doors and windows with tightest possible fastenings. Prepare family emergency kits. Do not use the telephone lines. Leave free for the rescue services. Listen to the messages given by radio and other media. Carry out the instructions given through media. Close doors and windows. Seal any cracks or gaps around windows and indoors with adhesive tapes. Organize a reserve of water. Turn off ventilators and conditioners. Follow the authorities' instructions and do not go out until there is no longer any risk. Carry out necessary decontamination measures. Then we will discuss man-made disasters. Humans are good at creating disasters throughout history. We have rarely been afraid to prove it. Man-made disasters are threats having an element of human intent, negligence, or error, or involving a failure of human-made system. Human causation may be accidental or intentional. Sudden disasters such as Chernobyl disaster and Bhopal gas tragedy. Insidious disasters, chemical and radiation exposure, global warming. Sociological disasters are terrorism, war, and civil conflicts. Technological disasters are industrial disasters, structural collapse, and fire. CBRN and transportation disasters. Terrorism, sociological hazards में terrorism है. The primary objective of terrorism is to create widespread fear. For example, on 11 September 2001, the World Trade Center in New York City was destroyed by crashing American Airlines and killed 2,752 people. War, it is a conflict between relatively large groups of people which involves physical force by the use of weapons. Warfare has destroyed entire cultures, countries, economies, and inflicted great sufferings. World War I and II, for example. Civil conflicts, any incident that disrupts a community where intervention is required to maintain public safety. Technological hazard, for example, nuclear power plant explosion in Chernobyl, Russia on April 26, 1986, which resulted in atmospheric release of radioactive material 400 times more radioactive than Hiroshima. Structural collapse, often caused by engineering failures, for example, recently buildings. Fire, transportation disaster, for example, air, rail, space disasters, and traffic collisions. Now, CBRN disasters are chemical, biological, radiation, and nuclear disasters. Release of CBRN hazards material into air, soil, water leads to serious hazards. For example, Fukushima nuclear disaster on March 2011, which was triggered by earthquake and tsunami in nearby Tohoku region. So with this, we finish disaster management. This is also included in your test. Prepare for your test, inshallah. Test will be conducted on 30th June.